आँखों में तेरी अजब सी अदाएं.
So let me start off with asking you the first question of, in your book, I've noticed that you speak about how age doesn't necessarily refer to wisdom. And with the world increasingly valuing youthfulness, how do you think the concept of age just being a number and staying aware and at peace today's rapidly changing in terms of age? What is your opinion?
I think the first chapter, Acceptance is Bliss, के अंदर I've spoken about that. I think the first few pages itself, it is. I think the concept of age is nowadays being defined as different aspects. जैसे तेरा body age अलग हो गया, तेरा mind age अलग हो गया. The whole point about me bringing up this thing is that I have learned a lot irrespective of age. Like ज़रूरी नहीं है कि कोई मुझसे बड़ा है तो उसने मुझसे कुछ ज़्यादा सिखा लिया हो. ऐसा कुछ है. I have had experiences in my life. I personally feel कि अगर एक example की तरह लेना है, I think youthfulness is something which has a lot to do with your mindset. And I think a changing mindset is always youthful. जो आदमी जड़ जाता है, like the meaning of the term maturity. एक आदमी mature हो गया मतलब खत्म. There is nothing beyond that, right? Right. There's no room to grow. So I don't like that term so much. Mature, because once you mature, there's nothing else to look forward to, right? So keep evolving. So an ever evolving mindset would always be young. अब ये जो चीज़ है, आप there are 16-year-olds who have a rigid mindset. So they are to me 60-year-olds who are not willing to, वो जिस हमको ये करना है ऐसा ही है वैसा ही. And there could be a 60-year-old who is still willing to learn, change and grow. So I think that's a youthful mindset. That's where I'm coming from when I say that.
It has to do with like a मुझे मत सिखाओ mindset that has to be defeated first.
Yeah, like see again, it's on the perspective how a person sees things. अब मैंने ये लिख दिया, मेरा perspective ये नहीं है कि तुम मुझे मत सिखाओ, right? And I hope I did not even write it in a fashion where it comes across like that. My intention was very simple. जैसे कली को देखते हो आप, छोटी सी जो ब्रांच होती है, when it is green, it can change, it's young. जैसे जैसे बूढ़ी होती रहती है वैसे वो rigid हो जाती है. You try to mold it, it'll break, right? Same thing goes for your mindset. अभी जो Gen Z, Gen X, all these things that have come across, it'll always be, the next generation will be smarter. The next generation will always be better. Like I was a Gen Z in the 80s. Right, in the 80s when I was born, because I was new at that time, I was Z. So I personally feel that जो generations है, I think it's just phases of your life. Where, and in the youthful mindset, there is no barrier. Like a Gen X can gel with a Gen Z because he's willing to adapt. The other also has to be willing to adapt, and I think that is the youthfulness I'm talking about. And again, मुझे मत सिखाओ is rigid. Yeah, it's rigid. So it's be open. That's
so speaking of the conversation of acceptance and the now, what is like a practice that you have towards acceptance? Like what is your mantra for the art of acceptance? And especially given the fact that you've also had to face so much adversity, so much uncertainty in your life, how do you keep a positive aspect to your life while accepting?
Yes, see, I personally feel that keeping a positive attitude and being happy is a decision. एक निर्णय है जो आपको लेना है, right? दूसरा, to accept first you have to observe. First, when I began the process of acceptance, I started understanding the difference of perception. When I started understanding that when I am saying something about a particular thing, it may or may not say exactly those things about that thing, but it says a lot about me. If I say that this person is doing something wrong, वो wrong or right हो ना हो, पर मुझे लगता है कि वो wrong है. अब वो क्यों लगता है? So you have to first observe yourself कि why, and then it all boils down to the conditioning that you had. बचपन से जो तुमने सुना है, समझा है, देखा है. So that observation first is very important. You have to observe yourself and the other. So I think that is the first step towards acceptance. Secondly, surrender. I think surrender is something which helps you in acceptance. So yeah, surrendering to the universe. It's just तुम God बोलो, तुम जो मर्जी बोलना है बोलो. Just the idea of surrendering to life itself. Right? I'm not going to fight what life is bringing to me. Like if I'm clinging on to something that is the thing which is bringing me happiness, but there are other things also which are giving me what I want, but I want it just from there. So now that is something which is I'm creating trouble for myself. I'm fighting, right? So I'm accept the good, the bad, and once you understand that every person is capable of transformation. If you think that this person is bad or negative or something, the understanding that this person can also transform is something which gives you hope for acceptance. So these are the tools which I sometimes, and the biggest tool. So this is something which I repeat in my head. परमात्मा प्रकट होते होते प्रकृति बन जाता है, और प्रकृति लीन होते होते परमात्मा बन जाती है. परमात्मा का जो रूप हम देख सकते हैं वो प्रकृति है, और प्रकृति का जो रूप हम नहीं देख सकते वो परमात्मा है. So the definition of God which Osho has given, that what is Paramatma, what is God, like वही प्रकट होते होते प्रकृति बन जाता है. What is प्रकृति? You are प्रकृति, I am प्रकृति, we are all nature. So this also absolves the fact कि मुझे दुनिया को बचाने जाना है, या फिर ये गलत है, ये सही है. It's like I'm just a part of something which of a very big, and I just have to play my part. I don't have to worry about. So if I think in an aspect के animals को मैं बचाऊंगा, तू खुद आखिरी species है animal की ही, तूने ही अपने आप को divide कर दिया कि human हूँ मैं, right? So the divide has been created by us in the head, and that division is what creates the friction. I've spoken about that friction thing also, like. So these are the things which help me come back, understand, and if I see something really, होता है यार कभी कभी दुनिया में तुम चीज़ें देखते हो तुम एक्सेप्ट नहीं कर पाते हो. मैं खुद नहीं कर पाता. मैं खुद थोड़ी ओशो बन चुका हूँ या फिर बुद्ध बन चुका हूँ. जस्ट ह्यूमन नहीं आती है. सो व्हेन दैट हैपेंस, एक कहानी है. बाईजीत नाम का एक फकीर था, बाईजीत, एंड वो जिस मोहल्ले में रहता था वहाँ पे एक बहुत ही खराब आदमी रहता था. लाइक व्हाटएवर बैड यू वांट टू इमेजिन, वो आदमी वो करता था. तो बाईजीत जो फकीर था वो इतना उससे अपसेट हो गया एक दिन, दैट ही सेड अल्लाह इसे उठा ले यहाँ से, आई डोंट वांट. तो कहते हैं कि बाईजीत को उस रात आवाज आई कि अब तक मैं इससे परेशान नहीं हुआ, तू कैसे हो गया. तो इज लाइक, सो दिस इज व्हाट समथिंग कि इफ यू सी समथिंग, ठीक है, अगर इसका होना होगा वो हो जाएगा, करने वाला कोई और है. So that absolves you of a lot of things. जो प्रेशर हम लेके बैठे हुए हैं. Change, acceptance, all these things help you, I feel. So this is what I
think somewhere you've also answered my next question, which was going to be what are some practical strategies towards positive mindset on a daily basis. But if you still want to answer,
no, if you have to just point, because that was a very random big answer. If you just have to point it out directly, I would say take a decision that I have to be happy. Like don't feel. Just practice happiness, more of it. Practice friendliness. Second thing I would suggest, listen to ध्यान सूत्र. ओशो का एक है, it's a series हिंदी में, और वो टेक्निक्स बताता है कि आपको कैसे करना चाहिए. तो he talks about शरीर शुद्धि, how to. So basically whenever a person sits, try to sit in peace. तो सब कभी यहाँ पे खुजली होती है, कभी यहाँ पे होता है, you just start feeling some things. So that's the energy moving. So शरीर के अंदर जो पहले ऊर्जा है उसको you have to release it. So he has a form of dynamic meditation that he had. He used to make people jump and he used to shout, and there are many mad things that he used to make people do so that all the energy is released. So you can have your own form, exercise करके या whatever, have sex or do whatever, just release everything. बताया. Then you come to the point of vichar shuddhi. So there are thoughts. Now what are these thoughts? It's a noise which comes in your head, and then you start having a conversation within, and then you start analyzing shit, and then it jumps from one place to the other. It's your thoughts which are just coming in. So if you, of course the idea is to become mindless without any thoughts at the end of the day, but the tool that in the beginning that you can use is that you can just actively, when you observe these thoughts, you can actively stop the negative thoughts, and you can actively turn them into something positive, and think about the times which have made you happy. Think of those times which have created those feeling of gratitude inside you. So actively, if you start doing it, it will create an awareness, because to be actively doing it, you will have to monitor your thoughts, and you don't have to monitor them, you just have to watch. Like abhi aa raha hai, and it's not that easy as I'm making it sound. It's been years since I've been trying to do it.
It will take a long time.
It takes a very long time. But the thing is that some thoughts are connected to an emotion. So the third thing is your विचार शुद्धि हो गया, उसके बाद में था भाव शुद्धि. भाव is your emotion. So sometimes you think certain things and then you start even feeling those things at the same time. So this is something which brings about those same negative reactions inside your body. Same chemicals are released, and it's bad for your health physically also, mentally also. So that is a practice where you have to let things go when some things bother you. So you have to actively like take time out of your day and just an hour inside, just talk, just let all those things out, whatever is, like have a knuckly enemy in front of you and just say whatever shit you want to say and just let it out at the end of the day. And slowly, steadily, I feel that these are the things. So listening to Osho's Dhyan Sutra is something which I would suggest.
Not just speaking about this, but I realized writing about my thoughts has taught me to process them. Because I used to be someone who would hold it in for a very long time without even realizing I was holding it. Very recently, I won't say it's a form of journaling, but it's letting my thoughts flow onto a paper.
I have journaled, and it's called Autobiography for Failure.
Walked into that. Okay.
Yeah, it was therapeutic for me also.
I'm sure it must have been.
Writing requires a lot of focus. Like
a decade of words of thoughts.
So when you have a pen in your hand and there's a book, and then you just, so first when you about to write, your writing speed and your thinking speed are different, right? So to write, you automatically have to calm yourself down. Your thoughts reduced to a point. So that automatically gives you peace. So that is therapeutic, right? That's a very great way of meditation, right? You can just like start journaling stuff down. When I start writing, hours just go by and I don't come to know. I think that's the best thing that I have discovered about myself. That's that.
Okay, so I know Kabbir speaks a lot about the concept of acceptance and finding peace.
Yeah, just stop at Kabbir speaks a lot. That's it. He just speaks a lot.
Okay, can you share like your own a personal experience where you accepted things for the first time or had a grasp on acceptance for the first time, and how it changed or improved your own life? Like the first.
Yeah, I really can't pinpoint it out because it's been a process. It's not something which I started listening again to Osho when I was 13, 14 years old. Bed rest pe rehte the. I was wrongfully diagnosed when I was a child by 36 doctors. I was put on bed rest, traction and all that. So I have had that journey. You spend a lot of time alone at home. So I've read a lot. I've heard a lot of Osho's. So the things that you asked me about, the first grasp of acceptance, right? So the one that I can easily pinpoint out is the one that I've written in my book about the fact that after visiting so many doctors and not knowing what you have, ultimately you come to know, although it is something that it cannot be cured, even the doctors have no idea about it. पर होता ही है ना यार कि अब पता तो चल गया. I don't have to run around to a doctor again. That thing is, oh, now I know this is it, and now I have to do certain things to manage it. So I think that acceptance has probably helped me cope up with living in this condition.
Was there any revelation when the first surgery happened?
Yeah, the first surgery happened. I used to be in a lot of pain. I used to be in so much pain that I couldn't put my foot down. This left hip had been deteriorated to a level, and I used to have so many painkillers. So I think the first surgery was कि यार ये मुझे मेरा दर्द ले लेगा. So I was very excited about that first surgery. You know, after living in so long for that pain, and I think that was the biggest. I feel that I didn't even think about कि ये कर लिया रे यार, you know, removing a part and putting a मेरी age क्या है वो सब मैंने सोचा भी नहीं था, because at that point the only thing that in my head was कि यार ये मेरा ये वाला pain ले लेगा, yeah, that's it. So that was the only motive at that time, and I was quite fearless about it, if I remember. Like, in fact, that even wasn't my first surgery. I had a surgery before that, again wrongful diagnosis, yeah, the hernia one, and that time I was 13 years old.
It's happened at the age of 13.
Yeah, 97.
13.
Yeah.
Like, I also know that you spent a lot of time alone because of your surgery.
नहीं, not surgery तो बहुत बाद में है यार.
After the surgery, would you not be...
In fact, after the surgery, I was lesser alone, because after the surgery, I was in lesser pain, so I used to move around a lot. Although the painkillers were there for the spine and all those things, but after the surgery, because that main big pain at every step had gone away, so I think I used to socialize more. I started meeting people more after that. But I was never left alone for a very long time. In fact, I used to want that space to be alone because I was so used to being alone as a child. Yeah, so I used to go to the terrace. I used to spend like 8 hours on the terrace, sometimes in the night alone, sometimes in the morning. I've seen sunsets, sunrises, I've seen the sun in the daytime, I've seen a pink moon or a red bloody big moon on the above the sea once. I don't know क्या था क्या नहीं था, वापस कभी नहीं दिखा मुझे, वो शायद कुछ अलग ही नशे किए होंगे याद नहीं मुझे, बट
उस उम्र में कहाँ नशे किए?
उस उम्र में तो नहीं करता था, पर अभी कहने में अच्छा लगता है.
It seems bad.
Yeah. So I used to want that space, and then as people started getting away from my life, divorce हुआ, तो wife गई, फिर father passed away, then I used to have a dog, he passed away. Like, people started leaving me, and I started getting my space in my own house again. So I started going to the terrace lesser after that, is what I realized. So that's when I realized that yes, I was missing the space which I used to have. But it's very important to have both the things. It can't be कि हाँ, because I think isolation is also overrated. इतना नहीं, you have to be alone. You can't be lonely. You have to be alone, and you also have to have a set of people around you.
That fine line of alone and lonely. Because I've been alone and not lonely, and I've also been with people.
Yeah, सीधी बात है ना, you're happy or you're upset. कोई वाली बात है. तू अकेला बैठा है और तू नेगेटिविटी के अंदर स्पाइरल हो रहा है. You wanting somebody, that's called being lonely, right? Because वो कहता ना, तेरे बारे में जब सोचा नहीं था, मैं तन्हा था मगर इतना नहीं था. मैं तन्हा था मगर इतना नहीं था. So the moment I started thinking about you is when I started feeling lonely. You get it? Yeah, तन्हा. So it's like that. So it's when you're alone, are you really alone? You have so many people around you. कोई ना कोई तो है ही है. You have to have that thing, people are there around you if you need something, or if they need something. I'm being a little selfish, but that is the core of the matter. That's how the world works, right? You scratch mine, I'll scratch yours, and that's something which is easier to live with, rather than having expectations and attachments. कि ये तो मेरे लिए करेगा ही, ये तो मेरे लिए करेगी. तो उससे better है कि you have that thing, but don't have that thing run your life. Like, जो उतना भी practical हिसाब किताब भी नहीं होना चाहिए, of course. But एक वो acceptance, see, that's what I'm saying. Certain things you just accept in life, and फालतू का झगड़ा नहीं.